they don't really look for qualifications. They're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
Where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills. So entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.
I'm Hannah Bard. I'm currently on a sponsored course by the Environment Agency in Flood and Coastal Engineering. It's run by Brunel University and in partnership with HR Wallingford. I'm in the foundation course at the moment and currently on a placement in Ipswich in asset performance. I was attracted by the programme because it gives you a placement and it makes you have so much more experience for a job. And it means you can focus what you want to do and find out the bits of a job which you like and don't like at such an early age, as well as giving you the degree to go with it. In school, I did A-levels in maths, further maths, geography and economics. I knew I definitely wanted to do something with maths and geography combined. I wasn't entirely sure what that was, but now I've kind of found that perfect place. Placement really gives you a good opportunity to kind of figure out what you want to do and good experience in a lot of different aspects which you're going to need later on in life. And not only those technical abilities such as CAD drawing, but also the softer skills such as like working in a team and communicating within the different teams. So I work in asset performance, but you're having to work with not only our team but the field teams and like the fisheries teams and so many other people. It gives you those skills as well. The most exciting part of our course so far would be we get to go on loads of different trips and site visits as part of our professional development course. So for example, earlier this year we went to the Thames Barrier and you got to have a look around, and it gives you a good experience of different projects which you're going to get involved into whilst on placement. In the future, I would really like to work with more natural flood management schemes. So I'm not sure what that would be yet, but I want to kind of have as much opportunities as possible and see what's happening already for me to work on it in the future.
Hello, my name's Ayesha Shokale and I'm a graduate civil engineer at the Environment Agency. When I was at school, I already knew I wanted to be a civil engineer. I actually discovered the power of engineering to transform lives and communities at the age of 9, so it's been a lifelong passion. My route to engineering was at A-levels. I studied maths, physics, chemistry and AS levels in further maths, and then I progressed to university where I studied at MEng in civil and coastal engineering. I found out about the Environment Agency when I was still at university. I was currently the president of the Engineering Society there, and they came to our careers fair and they told us about what they did. And it just appealed to me, the fact that we were more linked to the outcomes and helping people. And that's really important to me, doing something that really helps and transforms people's lives. Next to me, the Environment Agency is just carrying on getting more experience. I'm currently a graduate civil engineer and I'm working to the status of achieving chartership, the ICE. And this means getting a rounded experiences in project management, site supervision and design. So that's what I'm working on.
Hi, my name's Emily Archibald. I'm a civil engineer and I work for Jacobs, a delivery partner of Team 2100, which is the Thames Estuary Asset Management Programme. When I was in school, I knew that I wanted to do something that involved problem solving and would really challenge me on a day-to-day basis, and I thought that engineering was a really good fit for that. My route into engineering was at A-level. I studied maths and design technology. I then went on to do an MEng in civil engineering. That had a general first year so that I could find out about different types of engineering before choosing what I wanted to specialise in. So when I first graduated, I went to work for an engineering consultancy. I was there for a few years and I was working mainly in construction supervision and design, and I was then headhunted to come and work for another engineering consultancy in project management. I'm really proud of being a part of some of a huge range of different construction projects, whether you sort of play a small part in a big project or a big part in a small project, to see something that you've designed or helped to build actually materialise is just such a fantastic feeling. I'm really proud of the projects I've been involved in.
My advice to anyone considering a career in engineering is to get some work experience. I really just feel that engineering, it's something that you need to get practical experience of, be in a consultancy office or on site. It really brings our career to life.
I'm really proud that the Environment Agency is supporting International Women in Engineering Day as well as the Year in Engineering. I went to an all-girls school, so it's been kind of constantly in my life of empowering women, and it's really nice to see that continued into my career as well.
My advice to anyone considering a career in engineering would be to go for it. It's a really diverse, challenging career, and I enjoy every day going to work. I'd really recommend it as a career choice.
Hi, my name's Anne Milton and I'm Minister for Apprenticeships and Skills. It's great for me to hear from so many engineers, particularly some of the young women that I've met. Engineering is a brilliant career. It's about finding solutions to the big challenges that we face in the world. And actually, critically for me, it's about making a positive difference to people's lives. Engineering is not just about getting dirty inside some engine. It's about all sorts of solutions to those problems we face. And if you're thinking about engineering as a career, it's well paid and you'll get fantastic experience and get an opportunity to work in some of the most exciting industries out there. Thank you.
are the first generation that knows we are destroying the world, and could be the last that can do anything about it. This is a choice.
The food we eat, the things we buy, the way we live. We can win the biggest battles in the smallest moments. Are you for the world or against it? It's time to decide.
Join the fight for your world with WWF.
Good morning and welcome to the Learn Live channel. Today, the 26th of March, the Environment Agency, in collaboration with WWF, is hosting the first Protecting Our Planet conference. The Protecting Our Planet conference is a meeting of people who all want to fight for your world and try to come up with ways to stop ourselves from destroying our world. That's with anything from the packaging that our food comes in to how we gain energy for the electricity that goes into our homes. Within the next hour, we'll be hearing from experts from WWF and the Environment Agency who deal with plastics and sustainability and flood and coastal risks. Now, if you've got any questions for our panel, please feel free to leave them in the chat facility next to the video player and we'll answer them for you. First up though, we'll be hearing from Hannah and Lizzie from the Environment Agency and the work they do with the Plastics and Sustainability team. They both work to protect the natural world from plastic pollution by helping others to reduce the amount of avoidable plastic they use. Here's Anna and Lizzie to tell you more.
Hi, I'm Lizzie.
And I'm Hannah.
And we're from the Environment Agency's Plastic and Sustainability team.
In our team, we work to reduce the amount of plastic going into the environment and also to educate others about how they can reduce their impact on the natural world.
Here we've got a tray of the different types of plastic that we found on a beach in Cornwall. So we've got bigger bits of plastic, including bottle tops, lots of bottle lids, some cotton bud sticks and some pieces of rope. And we also have lots of small pieces of plastic, and there are lots of these on the beach, and these are microplastics and they're less than 5 millimetres in size.
So if you've been on a beach or a river clean recently, you might have been able to spot these large pieces of plastic really easily, but you have to look really closely to see the smaller pieces of microplastic. We've collected our microplastics using a sieve so that the sand can fall through the sieve and we're left with the plastics to remove them from the environment. These microplastics are particularly bad because they can look like food to lots of different animals. For example, some fish eat the eggs of other fish, and the small pellets called nurdles look like food to them. If they eat these microplastics, it can make them really sick because they can get stuck in their stomach and they'll think they're full, so they will stop eating rather than eating the food that they should be eating.
So the problem with the big bits of plastic is that when they enter the environment, they can entangle animals. This is the case on land and also the case in the marine environment. So here we've got our team shark, Sir Dave, and he's tangled up in a fishing net. And this can lead to injury and in severe circumstances can also lead to death for the animals. So whilst you're at home, there are a few different activities that you can do. The first one's going to illustrate animals being entangled in big bits of plastic. So we found an elastic band in the house. Don't worry if you can't find an elastic band because we also have a hairband. So I would like, Hannah, if you put the elastic band on your pinky finger, so on your littlest finger here, then bring it round the back and put it onto your thumb, like this. Yep, so you've done that, well done. And then I'm going to give you 30 seconds to try and take that off, but you can't use any other hand. You can't scrape it against the table, that's against the rules. I just want you to try and take it off, because this is how the animals are going to feel when they're entangled in that, because they don't have hands either. Okay? So some of you might have got it off and some of you haven't, but the point is that it's really hard for animals to carry on their daily lives when they are entangled like this, and this will have a severe impact on them. So another way that plastic can enter our environment is if it gets flushed down the toilet. Now the only things that you should be flushing down the toilet are pee, poo and paper. So an easy way to remember this is the 3 Ps. So that's again pee, poo and paper. And when people flush down things that are plastic or contain plastic, that can cause blockages, and then plastic can enter our environment.
So not many people know, but all wet wipes contain plastic. So we're going to show you an experiment now that you can do at home that shows you why you should only flush paper and not wet wipes. So the first thing we're going to do is add a wet wipe into our first jar here. And then some toilet paper into our second jar over here. And then we're going to pour some water into the 2 jars and shake them up once we've closed the lids. So make sure the lids are properly closed. And we're now going to shake the jars. So now we've shaken the jars, we're going to show you which has broken up and which hasn't. So first the wet wipe. So the wet wipe is still completely whole. So you can see this wouldn't break up when you flush it down the toilet. So this would cause blockages in the sewers and it might even leak into the environment. So next, the toilet paper. And this is all broken up into small pieces. So this would go through the pipes and go to the sewage system absolutely fine.
So there are loads of different things that you can do to help tackle plastic pollution in your everyday lives. And we should think about the waste hierarchy in every decision that we make. Here we've got the poster of the waste hierarchy. At the top, which is the most important, is avoid. Then we've got reduce, reuse and recycle. So an example of avoiding single-use plastic would be, instead of having a single-use plastic water bottle, you could use a reusable water bottle.
You can reduce the amount of plastic you use in items that you might consume at home. For example, instead of buying individual yoghurt pots, you can buy one big pot of yoghurt and put that into smaller tubs for you to take in your lunches or eat at home.
Reuse. If you have plastic already in your life and in your house, you can reuse it and repurpose it for different things.
And recycle should be the last resort. We should always try and follow the rest of the waste hierarchy before we resort to recycling.
So what we'd like you to do now is to think what you're going to do to reduce your plastic consumption, and make a pledge or a promise to do that. I pledge to use a soap bar instead of shower gel, and here's my soap bar.
I pledge to make homemade cakes instead of buying plastic wrapped treats. As well as pledging to avoid single-use plastic, you can also help to protect the environment in other ways. So I pledge to do a litter pick when I'm out walking to the shops to reduce any damage that the plastic already in the environment might cause.
And I pledge to learn more about plastic by watching Blue Planet 2.
And we hope you've enjoyed learning a bit about plastic pollution. If you'd like to learn any more, you can download our resources from the link below. There's 4 workshops: Key Stage 1 Lower, Key Stage 1 Upper, Key Stage 2 Lower and Key Stage 2 Upper, and they're about an hour and a half long with all the worksheets, PowerPoint presentations and some short videos for you to watch.
Thanks for watching.
Wow, there were some amazing facts given there from Hannah and Lizzie, and it was incredible to hear about the amazing work that they do to help with our environment. Don't forget, if you still have a question for Hannah and Lizzie, you can leave those questions in the live chat facility and they will get back to you and answer them. And don't forget also to tweet using the hashtag #FightForYourWorld and Protecting Our Planet to show your support. Now up next we'll be hearing from Matt, who is the Educational Manager in the Our Planet team at the WWF. He designs and delivers a global education programme to accompany the groundbreaking National History series, which aims to educate and activate young people in the fight to reverse the decline of biodiversity. It's an amazing role that he plays in protecting our world. Please leave any questions you have for Matt in the chat facility next to the video player, and he will answer them on this broadcast. Before we hear from Matt, here is a short video about deforestation.
Welcome to the fight for our forests. Navigate the top 10 myths about the destruction of our forests to collect bonus points along the way. Are you strong enough to complete the challenge? Good luck! Myth 1. Most trees are cut down for paper and wood, right? Wrong. The truth is, the biggest cause of deforestation is the production of food, with meat, soy, and palm oil some of the biggest causes of forest loss. Myth 2. This is inevitable. There are too many people to feed. We need more space. Wrong again. The most tragic thing about the deforestation being caused by our food is that this destruction is totally pointless. There is enough already cleared land available for food production to feed a growing global population, so we don't need to cut down any more forests. Bonus! Myth 3. Beef is the only food that causes deforestation. Forests are certainly being cut down for grazing cattle, but nearly half of global deforestation is actually caused by crops, with soy being the #1 culprit. More than 80% of this soy is used to feed animals, particularly chickens and pigs. So without us realizing it, meat production is causing huge swathes of deforestation across the world. Myth 4. I only buy British meat, so that's okay, right? Wrong again. Buying locally sourced meat is a good thing to do. It supports our farmers and cuts down on air miles. But there's no such thing as a free lunch. Chickens and pigs here in the UK need to eat, and this often involves the humble soybean. Grown largely in South America, it's one of the largest causes of deforestation on the planet, and it's being fed to our chickens and pigs here in the UK. But soy can and should be grown sustainably. Myth 5. We can only solve this if we all go vegan. Eating a more plant-based diet is certainly better for your health and the planet. But deforestation could be hiding in many food products in our supermarkets, not just meat. From products containing palm oil, like biscuits and bread, to chocolate bars. So going vegan isn't the solution by itself. Ultimately, we don't think any of our food should be destroying the planet. Myth 6. Boycotting palm oil will help stop deforestation. Wrong. Found in nearly half of packaged products we find in the supermarkets, from pizza to deodorant, palm oil has caused huge amounts of deforestation, with endangered species like the orangutan suffering as a result. But the real problem is not the crop itself, but rather how and where it's grown. Palm oil is in many ways a supercrop, efficient and productive. To get the same amount of vegetable oil from a similar crop could require anything between 4 and 10 times more land. Boycotting palm oil could therefore cause more deforestation, not less. The solution is for companies to use only sustainable palm oil that respects and safeguards people and nature. Bonus! Myth 7. This problem will be solved by avoiding certain foods or brands. If only it were that simple. There are hundreds of different names for palm oil, while the soy used to feed our livestock isn't even listed as an ingredient. The scary truth is, at present, there's simply no way of knowing where deforestation is hiding. This isn't something individuals can solve alone by avoiding certain foods. That's why we need the UK government to end deforestation on our supermarket shelves. Myth 8. This is a problem for the food companies to sort out. Efforts by business alone have not been enough to stop deforestation. While some have made progress, things are not moving fast enough, and time is running out. This is why government has to step in. New laws would level the playing field, so those businesses doing the right thing aren't at a disadvantage. Both businesses and government have a massive role to play in creating better standards and reducing the causes of deforestation. Myth 9. The UK government can't do anything. It's foreign governments that need to act. This is a global problem. all governments need to act. A world without the Amazon or tropical rainforest affects all of us. By ending deforestation in our products here in the UK, we can lead the world in the fight to save our forests.
Bonus!
Myth 10. There's nothing I can do about it. Wrong! It's not game over yet. There is something you can do about it. You can raise awareness by sharing this film. You can eat a more plant-based diet. And most importantly, you can call on our decision makers to end deforestation in our food. We all need to fight for our forests and get deforestation off our plates.
Hi, I'm Matt Larson-Daw. I'm the Education Manager at the Worldwide Fund for Nature in the UK. And in this short video, I just want to talk a little bit about biodiversity, why it's an important subject, and to give a few tools and tips for young people to explore it in their own lives. So first of all, what is biodiversity? So biodiversity is the variety of life in a particular area, whether it's your garden, whether it's the country that you live in, or whether it's the whole globe. And biodiversity means the health of an ecosystem, having more varied kinds of life in an ecosystem, all connected to each other, makes it more resilient, makes it more able to adapt if one thing changes, or if the environment itself changes. So when there is less biodiversity, when there are fewer organisms and fewer different kinds of organisms, then that is a more vulnerable and a less healthy ecosystem. So looking at our whole planet, that means that if we do not sustain healthy biodiversity over the whole of our planet, then it will stop delivering for us the natural resources that depend on life. And that means food, clean air, fresh water, and a healthy living space. So biodiversity is incredibly important, and the loss of biodiversity is one of the biggest challenges and threats that we face. But climate change is the issue that everyone talks about. Biodiversity is much less understood and is much less talked about. And that seems strange because biodiversity is an issue as a subject that you can go outside and explore for yourself. You can experience the biodiversity in your garden, the biodiversity in your local green space. Climate change is a harder thing to grasp. You can work to lower your carbon footprint, but you're kind of relying on data, you're kind of relying on research that you can't tangibly feel, you have to sort of trust the numbers, and you can't necessarily see the impact of what personal action you might take on the global issue. With biodiversity, you can go outside, you can touch, feel and explore what biodiversity means in practice, and you can take actions and make changes and then see the results on biodiversity. And that's a fantastically rewarding learning experience for young people, and it's great as an experience for anyone. So what I want to introduce today is a tool that we've developed at WWF with partners iNaturalist, who are a citizen science biodiversity recording organisation. They rely on a community of naturalists and enthusiasts, nature enthusiasts, the world over, who take observations of biodiversity, take photos, ID the species and upload them to a global database of biodiversity that anyone can access. And the tool that we've created is perfect for young people, but it's suitable for all ages. It's called Seek, and if you search Seek by iNaturalist on any app store, Apple or Android, you'll be able to download it yourself. And what's great about it is, if I start this one up, the first thing that will come up when it boots up is a list of species and details about those species that I can expect to find if I step outside the door. So this is recognising where I am, it's recognising the time of year, and it's able to cross-reference that with the database of sightings and tell me that if I go outside, I've got a good chance of finding red dead nettle, lesser celandine, green alkanet, a Eurasian coot, and so on. That's giving me a mixture of different kinds of species, but if I go to the filter, I can change that to suit what I actually want to go outside and explore. So for example, if I change it from all species to arachnids, I'll get a much more specific list of the spiders that I can expect to find in my garden. So I can see from here that if I go outside, there's a good chance at this time of year and in this place I'll be able to find a noble false widow. And actually this morning I saw a false widow walking across my patio, so I know that that's accurate. Another one that it mentions is a goldenrod crab spider, and there's a goldenrod crab spider that lives on the bush just outside my back door every summer. So this is a great way into your local environment. This tells you what you can expect to find. It's a great incentive for going outside, and it gives you a starting point of knowing what to look for. It also means that if you spot something, if you can't get a good picture of it, or if you're not quite quick enough to get your phone out or your tablet out, there's a good chance you'll be able to ID it just by looking through this very, very customized reference of your local biodiversity. But the really clever thing about this app is if you want to take an observation and you click on the camera icon and it goes into camera mode, the first thing it'll do is pop up with some tips, and these are tips for your own safety in exploring an environment, but also how to be sensitive to the wildlife that you're going to meet and how to make sure that you don't disturb or harm any organisms in your search. So I click continue, and then it says scanning the environment for organisms. So what that means is if I scan any living thing, whether it's a plant, a fungus, a spider, a bird, a mammal, it will cross-reference what the camera can see with a huge database of images that are on the iNaturalist platform. And it will be able to ID, hopefully, all the way down to species level, what it is that I've found. So if I try it out with a succulent, I happen to have to hand. If I scan this succulent with the camera, I will see 7 dots appear on the screen. And to start with, they'll all be white, but then one by one, they will turn green. And what that means is it's getting closer and closer through the different levels of classification from kingdom down to species. And this is really great because what this means is if it can't quite tell you what species it is, that doesn't mean you get no result at all. It gives you a really good starting point. It might tell you what family it's in, what genus it's in, what order it's in, what phylum it's in, even if it can't tell from the amount of information you're giving it exactly what species it is. And though that gives you a great starting point to go into the reference section or to go to books and to actually really work out exactly what it was you saw. Or for some people, it's enough to know the family, for example. So with this, it's telling me that the family, so the class is monocots, the order is agaves, and the family is asphodels. It can't quite tell me the species, but if I move closer and I change the angle, it might be able to give me the exact species. Now this is not a native species to this area, which means that the database is having to work harder. It's not trying to look for succulents because it doesn't expect succulents to be wild. It will work much better if you go outside and look at native species. The great thing about the live feedback, so that's all happening without me actually taking a picture. And that's great for young people because there's instant feedback that's helping them to understand what they're looking at in real time. But also, it's giving you feedback on whether you're taking a good nature observation. So understanding the principles of good biodiversity surveying is a really great skill for a naturalist. You need to be able to identify it as a very specific species. You need to be able to tell from the photograph what makes it unique and what makes it different from other similar plants, similar animals, similar insects. So you're getting that live feedback, and you can see if it's not quite giving you a species recognition, you can change the angle, you can go closer, or you can find a better example. And so that's 2 very important skills being learnt at the same time. The levels of classification and how to make a good biodiversity observation. Now what this app allows you to do is that when you have taken a picture and you have ID'd a species, you can click in and find out more about it. So if I click into one of the species that I could expect to find here, the goldenrod crab spider, I can see pictures of it, so I can just double check that it was a good reference. I can read a little bit about it. I can see its range map, so where I can expect to find it, where it's been observed elsewhere in my area or the world. I can also see the full taxonomy, I can compare it to other similar species, and it will show me the seasonality, which is when I can expect to find that out and about if I'm going out observing at different times of year. This also means that you can see when you've found something unusual, something rare, something you wouldn't expect to find at this time of year, something which maybe is of interest to the science community. And what this allows you to do is to set up an account with iNaturalist and upload your observations to the iNaturalist platform. And that means they will contribute to this global picture of biodiversity that can be drawn on by all scientists the world over. And it will also allow these strange sightings to be seen by scientists, and if you found something unusual, or if you found possibly even a species that couldn't be recognised by the app because it's so rare, or possibly even unrecorded, or if you just see something that is invasive or that perhaps is not normally around at that time of year, that's interesting data that might actually lead to some conclusions about changes to the climate or to the natural environment. So when you've built up your skills as a naturalist and you have a better understanding of what local biodiversity looks like, how can you use that to make a practical difference? Well, WWF has created a resource to help you think about that and put it into practice. It's called the Our Planet Lab Toolkit. LAB stands for Local Action on Biodiversity. And if you start a lab project using the toolkit, it'll take you through 3 stages. The first is seek. And seek means exactly what we've just been talking about. So going out and finding wildlife, recording, and getting a better understanding of what species exist in your local ecosystem and what species you might expect to find and for some reason are not finding. When you have that picture of biodiversity, you can move on to the next step. And the next step is connect. And that has 2 meanings. The first is that you are finding the connections within that biodiversity data that you've gathered. So thinking about how the existence of some species or habitats in your local area are allowing other species to come and be a part of it, or understanding why there might be some species and not others, or understanding how species are interdependent. You can also think outside the patch that you're actually studying, so thinking about how even if you have a favourable habitat for a certain species, if it's not visiting, why might that be? Is it because actually there's not enough of that habitat nearby? Is there a big gap around where you live or where your school is, which means that that species can't really thrive in that environment? So that's the connections within the natural system. Then there are the connections that you can make with other users of Seek and other Our Planet Lab projects. So you could connect to other schools or projects over Skype in the classroom or just via social media, or we're making direct connections with other groups locally. It can be really interesting to compare with another local group and to see how your results differ from theirs and what actions they might be taking compared to the actions that you might be thinking of taking. It's also really interesting to compare and contrast your findings with a group somewhere else in the world or somewhere else in the country where they're likely to be finding completely different species. And you can think about adaptation, you can think about migration, and all sorts of issues that become much more clear when you're looking at 2 very different ecosystems. The third stage is act. And that means looking at those conclusions that you've made, those connections that you've made, and all of the data that you've gathered about your ecosystem, and thinking about what you could do to improve biodiversity. What could you do to give nature a helping hand? So that could be recognizing what species actually already visit, and thinking about what might make it a more favourable environment for them. What food could be supplied, what habitat could be supplied, so that they can thrive more than they are currently. Other than that, you can look at what species are currently not found in that ecosystem and what could you do to encourage them to be able to come and add to the biodiversity. So taking that action can be really rewarding because as you continue to monitor biodiversity in the same area, you'll see whether or not new species are visiting or whether or not numbers of those different species that already exist are increasing. And that's what we really need to be doing at the global scale, and that's what WWF's Living Planet report every 2 years really shows, is if we can actually make significant changes, we can stop the decline of biodiversity and bend the curve, not only to stop it or to slow it in its decline, but actually to uplift it and increase biodiversity to create a more stable, a more healthy and a more resilient world. So I hope you find these tools really useful. We'd love to see the results of your Our Planet Lab projects, or just by connecting to iNaturalist to see the observations that you make using Seek. And it's a fantastic activity to do when you're stuck at home, just in the garden, window box, local green space, or around your local street trees. So please do get experimenting, do give it a go, and let us know how you get on. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Matt, and that was incredible. Your knowledge on the deforestation and everything that's happening around the world because of the everyday things that we use. You gave us some really eye-opening information there. Don't forget to tweet with the hashtag #FightForYourWorld and protecting our planet to show your support. So that's hashtag #FightForYourWorld or hashtag protecting our planet. If we didn't get to your questions, don't worry, Matt will answer them for you on the live chat facility, where you can see we're already having some questions coming in. We will also now be speaking to Rachel, who is part of the Environment Agency and is a flood and coastal risk management team member for the Wessex area. She's also an established speaker and course representative for the Flood and Coastal Engineering degree programme. She's a very important job, and she helps protect thousands of homes and businesses per year from future flooding risks. Now again, please, any questions you may have for Rachel in the live chat facility next to the video player, and she will answer your questions for you. Now, over to Rachel.
So today we are going to be talking about how to get you flood ready, and this presentation should do the trick. So who are the Environment Agency? We work together to create better places for people and wildlife. The EA is an organisation which works in the UK to make our country a better place for people and wildlife. The Environment Agency is the main responder for flood and environmental incidents and emergencies in England, such as waste and the illegal dumping of it, pollution incidents in rivers, looking at how clean our waters are, around the country for swimming, allowing you to go fishing, and protecting people, buildings and land from flooding. Over 10,000 people work for the Environment Agency, and we look after over 7,000 kilometres of walls and embankments on the rivers, and over 1,000 kilometres of walls and defences around the coast of England. So on your slide, we have pictures of beach nourishment on the left. In the middle, we have a photo of water voles, which are actually protected by the law. And on the right, we have a new visualisation for our new Boston Barrier Flood Defence Scheme. You will have seen on the news, and I'm sure through your studies in school, that there are so many environmental challenges that we now face. The environment is the most important thing for the Environment Agency. The most recent year, we've seen a big push to slow down the use of single-use plastic, which is championed by David Attenborough in Blue Planet, but also the threat of climate change. Our climate is changing, and the threat to our country is a real one. Rising temperatures are causing the ice sheets in the Antarctic to melt, which is in turn causing sea levels to rise. A new report out at the end of last year predicted that at the end of the 21st century, all areas of the UK are projected to be warmer by between 1.5 and 6 degrees. Who are emergency responders? So level 1 responders are known as the core responders. They include the usual blue light emergency services, for example, police, fire service, ambulance, as well as others. But do you know that the Environment Agency are a level 1 responder? We often help the police and fire service during an emergency, and this is something that we take very seriously and we are really proud of. Other level 1 responders include NHS Trusts and Public Health England, local authorities and the Coast Guard. Level 2 responders, are also key in cooperating services that act in support of the Level 1 responders. Level 2 responders are mostly utility companies and transport organisations. What is an emergency or incident? An emergency is a situation that poses an immediate risk to health, life, property or environment. An incident is when some emergencies do not immediately endanger life, health or property, but do affect the natural environment and creatures living within it. Not all responders see this as a genuine emergency, but it can have a very bad effect on animals or land. Examples would include forest fires and marine oil spills. This would be considered as an incident. The Civil Contingencies Act 2004 establishes a clear set of roles and responsibilities for all of the responders or planners during an emergency work towards the same goal. Level 1 emergency services, local authorities and Public Health England all have a legal obligation to look at the risk, plan and practice for emergencies. There are many different things that we might call an incident or an emergency. A fire, a major road traffic collision, coastal pollution, weather-related snows or heat waves, a disease, pandemic, flu or animal disease, or public safety. So what is a flood? A flood happens when water covers land that is usually dry. Flooding can be an emergency and will usually also need the help of other emergency services, such as the fire brigade, police, and ambulance. So what causes a flood? Water can build up and cause flooding to areas like car parks, motorways, or even school playgrounds. Flooding can happen when drains are full or blocked and water can't flow away. Heavy rain can cause fluvial flooding, which comes from rivers, and these are caused to overflow or break and damage the riverbanks. Coastal areas are also at risk from the sea when storms and big waves bring seawater onto the land, and that can also damage sea defences. Surface water flooding can happen when heavy rain falls onto hard surfaces like our streets and can't drain away easily into the ground. Groundwater flooding happens when the water in permeable rocks rises to enter basements or gardens. Groundwater flooding is not always linked to heavy rainfall and may last for weeks or even months. What do we do to try and stop flooding? The Environment Agency has built over 500 new defences since 2015. These flood defences are protecting over 140,000 homes and thousands of businesses. We have 40 kilometres of temporary flood defence barriers and 250 high volume pumps to deal with. Some examples of what we build are shown in the photos here. There are coastal flood defence schemes. There are more than 1.4 million people that are signed up for free flood warnings, giving them vital time to save themselves and their possessions from the devastating effects of flooding. This service is free. This service is free, and you can sign up at gov.uk. We have 40 kilometres of temporary barriers, which are currently deployed in our depots. Next slide. Flood water can be very dangerous. It can be very deep and cold, and sometimes you can't tell how cold it is and how deep it is, so do not enter the water. It can contain hidden objects that are dangerous, like sharp metals or broken glass. It is very dirty and contains lots of germs and bacteria that can make you sick. Wash hands if you touch flood water, and it's important not to swallow it, so don't eat any food or drink any water that has been touched by the flood water. Flood water is dangerous. We have some activities that will be shared with you to understand what things can be found in the flood water. To understand how high the flood water is, we've also got another activity to understand the height of this. A small ruler measuring 15 centimetres and a big ruler measuring 30 centimetres is what it can take to move one person or one car. If you can go around your house and find something that's that size, you can then put it next to your car and understand how much water it can move. If you can't find anything, you can use Lego blocks to build something that's 15 centimetres or 30 centimetres high. 30 centimetres is enough to make the car float, for example, 4 Xbox controllers or 1 Barbie doll. And just 15 centimetres of flowing water is enough to knock you off your feet, which is the same as 15 Lego bricks. Who can help with an emergency where you live? The county councils and the Environment Agency can give advice about what you can do before, during and after a flood. In these emergencies, the Fire and Rescue Service will come out to help people in trouble. They use boats and other equipment to rescue people in danger in floods. They can also use pumps to help stop water from getting into homes or to pump water out of streets. The police help to make sure everyone is safe and help to close the roads so that no one drives through floodwater. Who might need your help in an emergency when you live? You should always check that the elderly are okay, because sometimes it's hard for them to move when floodwaters have risen. Make sure that you have your pets with you and make sure that they are not left behind. Also check on your neighbours that may have a new baby or someone that's just been in hospital, because they can be the most vulnerable. How will you know if there's going to be a flood? If you listen to the radios or watch the news, there will be warnings to tell you that it's raining very heavily. You can also check our website for updates. The Met Office will know about this, and your adults, parents or carers will be able to access this for you. So what do flood warnings mean? The flood alert means prepare. You should have a bag of things ready to help you during an emergency. Flood warning means to act. Move your valuable things upstairs out of harm's way and use the top of your wardrobes to keep your toys or photographs safe. A severe flood warning means to survive. Keep your family and yourself safe. Listen to whatever emergency services tell you and call 999 if you're in immediate danger. Know your flood warnings. Schools and homes can sign up for these flood warnings from their rivers, from the Environment Agencies. So make sure your parents, teachers or guardians check that they are at risk and can sign up for these so that they can be warned if a flood happens. What items should you put in your emergency bag? You can think of these when you walk around the house and understand what could go in your emergency bag. Key things include money, baby food or nappies if you have a younger sibling, house keys, medication, some food, some useful phone numbers, and anything else that you may need, including waterproofs and warm clothing if you get wet, water and food that is non-perishable. This means it will last a very long time. Make sure to take a first aid kit with you for bumps and scratches, and also a torch with spare batteries. You can ask a parent or carer to check on our website to check if you can sign up for flood warnings. We will give you some information to download or to take home to show them. They can give us 5 ways to contact them, including mobile numbers or email addresses, or we can even send a text message. We have some stuff so you can create an emergency bag and take a photo to show your teacher or send it to them this week. You can also email or tweet us a picture too. We will give you these contact details soon. You are now flood ready. We will also give you the chance to download your very own certificate so you know that you can remember not to be scared but be prepared. And that's the end of the presentation.
That's great. Thank you so much to Rachel for her time. And it was just brilliant to hear about the amazing work that she does to save the homes and businesses in her area. Keep sending in your questions, please, as Rachel will happily answer them on the chat facility next to the video player. And don't forget to tweet using the hashtag #FightForYourWorld or the hashtag #ProtectingOurPlanet to show your support for today. Now, for anyone out there that thinks you're just too young to get involved in helping your planet, our next guest is going to tell you that you can. You definitely can. Lucy Parsons is a young speaker who wanted to do something about the effects of plastic pollution. and so she organised a group to collect plastic litter in her village. Because of the work she did, the Deep saw a poster she made for her litter collection and asked her to do a talk, which has taken her to being an ambassador for Kids Against Plastic. If you have any questions you may have for Lucy, please leave them on the chat facility next to the video player and we'll get those answers straight across to you. In the meantime, here's Lucy.
I'm Lucy Parsons and I'm an IRL Ambassador for the Environment. I'm here to talk to you about how I started my journey and how you can help too. My passion started after watching Blue Planet 2 when I saw the mummy whale carry her dead baby around after it was poisoned by plastic. I knew I had to do something. At first, I started doing glitter picks and beach cleans with my family. Then this grew to getting my friends to join in at school and in our spare time. We started to map our local village where we had collected litter and what the litter was. This was to see what was the problem and how we could solve it. From this, I've organised village litter picks for the whole community every month. And we have the council backing where they collect our litter and have provided pickers, bags and gloves. My advice on what you can do is it doesn't have to be big, it just has to be something. And I know we're all stuck at home right now, so here's some stuff to do. Make a list of all the single-use plastic you use in a week. Can you change or reduce any of this? Maybe research alternatives. On your daily walk outside, try and do a litter pick, but make sure you have gloves to protect your hands. Also, think about things you can do in your garden to help nature. Maybe you build a bug hotel, make a mini pond, or plant lots of flowers to help bees and butterflies. Most of all, have fun and explore your own mini world. Do bug hunts maybe, identify birds, or just sit and listen to the sounds of nature. Thank you for listening to me. Stay safe and keep smiling.
It's just amazing to hear the passion that someone so young has for the protection of our planet and what we can do to come together and support this amazing place we call home. If you want to know how to get involved with Kids Against Plastic, please leave your questions in the chat facility next to the video player and we'll answer those for you. Thank you so much to everyone who was part of the broadcast today with the WWF and the Environment Agency, and to all who have tuned in. Remember, for more information on Protect Our Planet, please look in the resources section under the video player and it will take you to the websites you need. Please also don't forget to leave your messages and questions to anyone from our broadcast today, as they will get back to you. And if you want to show your support for this incredible cause, don't forget those hashtags, Fight for Your World and Protecting Our Planet. We will see you again on the Learn Live channel. Don't forget, every day at 10 AM we have live reads and lots more content on our homepage. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
They don't really look for qualifications. They're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what PrEP needs us to do.
where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills, so entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.
They don't really look for qualifications, they're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
Where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills, so entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.
They don't really look for qualifications, they're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
Where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills, so entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.
They don't really look for qualifications, they're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills, so entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.
They don't really look for qualifications, they're looking for someone who's passionate, someone who seems quite driven and motivated to do what prep needs us to do.
Where you can really make that difference is the other things that you do. Work experience is something lots of people have. Things like Duke of Edinburgh, charity work in your own time, things that show that you've gone out of your way to develop your behavioural skills, so entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration with other people, honesty and courage, those things that will really help you excel.
I did a summer placement in the water team, so I was designing flood defences and drainage systems. So these placements are a really good way to sort of get a taster of what we'll be doing when we graduate. So
the people that really stand out for me are those that are very well prepared. They present themselves and things like CVs and any experience they've had well, and just come across really positive and keen.